Minion joining the group.
Hello.
Hi, just remembered to turn my volume on. Okay.
My husband uses my Zoom, and it used to be a picture of me, and it was awkward when it's all men learning Gemara. So he changed it to a minion.
A minion is better. Okay, I hear that.
More tznius.
Right.
How was your week?
How was my week? Good. I mean, I think it was good. I'm trying to remember. Shavuot was good. It was good. It was interesting.
How was the cheesecakes? How did the cheesecakes turn out?
Oh, so good. Yes. Also, the funniest was one of the recipes I kind of improvised on the spot, because I had Googled, like I had searched in Pinterest only no-bake recipes. And so I just took for granted that they were only going to offer no-bake recipes. So I printed the recipe and I'm in the middle of making it, and all of a sudden it says eggs. And I'm like, what? And then it says, and bake at 25. And I was like, no. So I was like, wait, I know how no-bake cheesecake recipes work. So wait. So in the middle, I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw in a half a cup of this and a half a cup of that. And I'm going to skip the eggs, and I think it should work. And it did.
And wow, okay.
Yeah, it totally worked.
Great.
So yeah,
Meanwhile,
the cheesecakes were amazing. What did you end up doing?
Great. Well, my family is in Minneapolis right now. Okay. So that's scary.
I would imagine.
And the shluchim in Minneapolis are also like under lockdown right now, which is extremely scary. But Shavuot was good. The cheesecake was good on the bright side.
You found like a good place to buy cheesecake? Or
so
no,
I ended up making.
You were going to make because there's nowhere to buy. Right.
Exactly. So it turned out good. I made it with the kosher Oreos. So
yeah, I used the Oreo crust for the peanut butter and chocolate cheesecake. I made 2 cheesecakes. I made the regular vanilla with the tea biscuits, and I made the Oreo based peanut butter chocolate one.
Yum.
Yeah. So your family's safe?
Yeah. I mean, everything was under lockdown last night, so all the highways were closed and everything. But yeah, the city's on fire, which is scary.
Not just the city. I understand it's 24 other cities in America as well.
Yeah. Right.
There's total 25 cities under curfew and lockdown, right?
Really? Oh wow. Yeah. I mean, I know
because Corona wasn't enough people, right? That quarantine lockdown, we just felt too free there, so we just gotta, lock down even more.
Right.
So it's so crazy.
Yeah. Also, everything in Minnesota was supposed to open tomorrow, like the salons, everything. It was the first day they were supposed to open after Corona.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so that's gonna hurt pretty bad. So yeah, but it's okay. Everything's from Hashem, so we gotta take it as it comes. And
I feel like we blame God for a lot of things that's our fault. Like, if people are being stupid, you can't blame God for that. Like, it's his fault that he gave us free choice. That's true. But
yeah, that's also true. Free choice is a very complicated
totally
topic.
It's a bad idea. I don't know.
We should just be like the Melachim and just be under Hashem's rule, and
makes more sense, no?
Life would be easier.
Right. Okay. And your family, like wait, you said in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Okay. So they work in like offices, or they have like stores. Like, is their parnassa in danger from the rioting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my parents have restaurants, but their locations of their restaurants are safe, thank God.
Okay.
Because they're a little bit tucked away. They're not like out in the front. But the shluchim, their Chabad house is very prominent. where their location of their Chabad house is extremely prominent, and there's a lot of rioting
And the
on
riot
that particular
and people
on
would
that
actually
particular
attack a
street.
Chabad house. Like,
I
I mean,
mean, they'll attack anything,
you
you
can't,
know.
you can't steal anything from a Chabad house. Like, what are you going to steal from there? What are you going to?
But
You can
that's not
smash
even
the
the
window.
point. Exactly.
Okay,
That's all
true.
they care about,
Right.
which is scary.
No, it's the expression of
exactly.
rage. It's the expression of rage. Right.
Right.
Ugh.
So just got to see how it goes.
Right.
They have curfew again tonight, but they said that today is already better. So, because the National Guard is there. So,
I mean, as long as you have corrupt police officers, it's not really better. It's like,
yeah,
it's just, it's a
100%.
cycle. It's just,
100%. But,
right.
I have a lot
Everyone's
of
just
opinions.
thinking very, what?
I have a lot of opinions, so I don't even know. It's like when there's
Are you able to express your opinions without getting stoned or burned at the stake?
probably not.
Okay.
But is anyone these days like?
No one's safe. No one's safe from
Exactly.
the thought police.
Right.
Right. Okay. Everybody holla, let me know you're all right. Okay. So I guess we'll dive in because, yeah. Alrighty. So seems like it was a really, really long time ago where we left off. We did the first, thanks, Rena. Thank you. Yeah, I hear there's crap going on in Toronto also, right? Like I saw, Rena, can you confirm or deny that I saw policemen on horseback in downtown Toronto? Is there riots there too? Okay, we'll just leave that out there. But somebody posted on Facebook and I was like, the heck? Oh, not that you know of. Okay, good, good. Just false alarm that I saw on Facebook today. All right. Rena, okay, Seder. Don't know a lot. Sarah Plutkin sums it up. I'm pretty sure if it was on Facebook, it's accurate. Wait, what? Wait. Leah, did you say that there actually are riots downtown Toronto?
I think so. I think I heard something like that. I heard there was an incident that happened here in Toronto.
Ugh. All right. Keep praying for everybody. My favorite thing that I saw, wait, Rena, I was in Guelph all morning, got it. You got your dog. Okay, I'm not choosing this tangent, but mazel tov on the puppy. The best thing that I saw on Facebook all day was Andy Milanakis. You guys see this? The two astronauts who went to the space station, right, through SpaceX. They know where it's at. Smart people. Yes. Smart men. Get the hell off of Earth. That's right. Okay. Okay. So you guys didn't send me too many questions, even like 2 weeks ago on chapter 3 on this wacky, crazy story about the two mothers, as I'm calling it. Yeah, I think Leah really summarized it like in one sentence, just accurately, like, what the heck is up with this crazy story? Yes, in fact, there are sages that would agree with you that they also summarized it that way too, of just what? Like, we don't understand what's going on here. Okay, so since you guys didn't send too many questions, then I have the kichi task of like breaking it down. And the reason I say kichi is just because it's annoying. It's like my type of teaching. I hate like, okay, so this is a question. It's like I like when you guys figure it out on your own. But hey, I'll flow with it. Okay, so just quickly let me know, was it clear to you guys who was speaking when in the very opening of the story? Like, who was the real mother? Which woman was saying which argument? Was that clear from the pshat to you guys? Anyone? Gemma said, I think so. Okay, quick cue. What's the meaning of this being his first judgment? Okay, we'll get to that. So hold that thought. So basically, because for me, that was one of the things that struck me, was that the dialogue felt to me like it was written a little bit cacophonously. Like you had literally these two very, very catty women just like at each other's throats and like throwing out, you know, sentences. In the beginning, the first one makes her claim very, very, like in a very organized fashion, meticulously, you know, but then later it sort of devolves into like, he, you know, she said, Rena, I'm just going on record as saying I'm making, okay, fine. Thank you for the clarification, Rena. So basically, the first thing that I personally wanted to do was just to get clear on who's making which claim. And because the Malbim, right, my beloved, so he says if you listen carefully to the way they speak, then you know, many things surface. And also it's very much what Shlomo himself is listening for, that he himself noticed the different speech patterns are what clued him into probability and likelihood of who was the mother, who was the fraudulent, you know, party here. So let's just run through the questions just briefly. Okay, so just who's saying what are their arguments? You know, breaking down the claims on a detailed level, even to the fact that like one party keeps addressing the king as Adoni, my master, and one just skips it altogether and just blurts her argument out. So that also is a telling factor. There's a very strange pasuk where Shlomo repeats the claim, and it's like, why? Why did you just do that? The Tanakh is so miserly on words. Why did it bother repeating, you know, the claims word for word? Just, I'll give you a clue which pasuk that is. Here we go. Pasuk Chaf Gimel. ויאמר המלך, זאת אומרת, זה בני החי ובנך מת, וזאת אומרת לא, כי בנך מת ובני החי. So other than the fact that they're an inversion of each other, right? A perfect mirror image. Translate, the king's sitting there saying, so one says, my son is alive and her son is dead, and the other says, no, her son is dead and my son is alive. Dvora is asking, is he pointing out the order? What do you mean by that? What order of what? Because there's different possibilities.
Like the order, whether you say my son is dead and your son is alive, or is like.
Okay, so what is the consequence of the order? Like, who cares?
Like, are you trying to emphasize that it's your son that's like alive, or are you trying to like just bash the other person? Like, oh, I don't care what it is, but your son's the one that's dead.
So the Malbim says that's exactly the point. Is that what a person blurts out first is what her priority is in this lawsuit. Is it that she's trying to prove that her son is alive, or is that she's trying to prove that the other one is dead? Like, because there's a huge difference between the two. So he's saying that, by repeating, he's listening to the claims very carefully, saying, what is each person trying to get out of the lawsuit? Because then you see what their priorities are, and then that already gives you a direction of who's the guilty party and who is the innocent party. Exactly. So that is the importance of that repetition, is by lining up the arguments to show how clearly one side is focusing on the importance of the life of the child versus the other one prioritizing, no, her kid is dead. And it's just like, really? That's what's important to you? Is that she shouldn't have? My kid being alive, whatever, but no. So yeah, exactly. Then, hold on, Sarah, why did they repeat so many times that they were home alone? Okay, Sarah, what do you think? I'm throwing it back at you. Why? Why are they repeating that they are alone? It's just the two of them. There's no one else in the house with them. Ah, Gemma figured it out. Exactly. I don't remember which commentator it is that says it, that there are no witnesses. Precisely. That there's no one else that could possibly testify. In fact, even one of the mothers cannot really testify on her behalf because she's asleep. Like, she wasn't even there. So she's only awake afterwards. She didn't actually see. So really, there aren't even any witnesses in this case. Right? Now, the other thing about there being no one else at home really is how to understand the word zonot, which is a very, very common question in Tanakh. Most of our sages don't like this word, not because they're squeamish or prudish in any way. It's just that they understand historically that a zona is not just one specific type of occupation. So for example, the most famous example of where sages don't like to translate zona strictly as prostitute is with Rachav, right? In chapter 2 of Yehoshua, right in Perek Bet. Anyone remember how do Rashi and the Radak translate Isha or Zona Ushma Rachav? No, not a baker, Adina. Try again. Good call. You're going the right direction, though. Oh, Dvora, exactly. Innkeeper, right? Okay. Now, why? Why do they translate Zona as innkeeper with Rachav? And by the way, I think it's the Ralbag and the Radak also translate Zonot here is that either they run an inn together, but they go there again. Now the question is why? Why do they do that? Why shy away from just translating very simply as yes, they're ladies of the night? Anyone know anything about ancient, cultural norms? And my noters who learned with me previously, who did Sefer Yehoshua with me, we did this then, but again, that was like probably a million years ago for you guys. You probably don't remember. But basically, in a nutshell, three things always went together historically, and we're talking from ancient times up until the Roman era for sure, certainly. And this has been archaeologically proven, that every single inn, right, had one sec Dvora, well, it's a little bit sketchy, had two women live together and have two babies. So we'll get to that, not so much, but hold on, because one of the questions is where the dads, right? Like that's the only reason it looks sketchy, is that where are the fathers? Okay, so we'll get to this in a sec. So basically, the three things that went together, every innkeeper had to provide, shelter, bed, place for the night, food, obviously, which is where the sages get the grammatical root of zona as an innkeeper from the root mazon, right, which is food, birkat hamazon, right, the grace that we say after a meal, after receiving sustenance. And by the way, this is not arbitrary that the word znut and mazon share a common root, right, zan. We spoke about this a while ago when we were talking about Chet Adam v'Chava, right, that in the Shulchan Aruch, when it talks about achila, that it talks about, it's really referring to two different things. Sometimes the Shulchan Aruch talks about achila kipshuto, that it's just talking about eating, the laws of eating. And achila is also a euphemism, a leshon nikiya, for intimacy. So the laws of achila in the Shulchan Aruch are also the laws of intimacy between man and wife. And so again, it goes back to the Garden of Eden. I'm not going to rehash that, but basically the connections are very, very, very tight between sustenance, food, and sustenance, of a different type. So innkeepers provided shelter, food, and company for the night. In fact, in Greek inns and hotels, they actually found, archaeologists found, like in the hotel, they found where the, like, let's say dining room is, and like the bedrooms, and they had a room off to the side where ostensibly the women, the company for the night, would like wait, and people could come and like just, choose. They also found all kinds of erotic paraphernalia in those same rooms, just they offered all the services possible. So basically this was true for various cultures. So when Chazal talk about innkeepers and znus, yes, the things go hand in hand. But the question is, how does this information affect our story? Sarah asked, no sanitary laws then. People didn't even know to wash their hands before, like, applying medical treatment, right? Anyone know when the first time in human history surgeons, specifically in the OBGYN field, discovered that you kill a lot less women that you deliver, if you just wash your hands between patients? Anyone know? Pick a century, any century, I dare you, right? Thank you, Dvora. The 1800s. That is insane that people used to like deliver one woman, run without washing their hands, deliver another woman, and they just said, why is like, female mortality so high? And like, upon giving birth, I don't know, cross-contamination, what the heck? So yeah, only in 1800s, one doctor figured out that if you just wash your hands in between patients, not even fancy hand sanitizer, soap and water, right? No antimicrobial stuff, just soap and water. Women survive labor and go on to be mommies. Wow. So yeah, humanity, it took them a while to figure it out. I mean, hey, I'm sorry, just like how many months ago we had to teach the entire planet, wash your hands to stop the spread of disease. It's 2020 and people still don't understand that. So whatever. Okay, so as for sanitariness, whatever. We still haven't got it figured out. We had to explain to people today, after the advent of microscopes, etc., that you have to wash your hands after you go to the bathroom and just, not spread disease that way. Like, I was literally face palming through this whole corona thing. I was like, I don't understand. What am I not getting? Like, my kids from the time they're like PT, like, what do grown humans on this planet not get about that? But okay, I'm a spoiled Jewish person that washes her hands like before every single meal, so whatever. Okay, so there is another question the sages ask about why is this even a lawsuit? Like, I understand one party feels wronged, I get it, but like, is there an actual legal claim here? I mean, it's not really manslaughter, murder. I mean, what is the claim here? What is the woman who wants her baby back? Like, what is her legal claim? So one of the opinions is that it's yibum, that the whole reason this is even a legal discussion is because the women actually have legal consequences with regard to that. If one woman, whichever woman it is that her child survives, then she's exempt from yibum and chalitza because she has, a viable heir, and therefore she doesn't need to go through that process. Whereas the woman who does not have a viable child, then she's still stuck with needing to deal with yibum and chalitza. So that's just one direction where our sages take the discussion. Hold on, let's admit another person. Okay. Where the dads, I think that's part of, was it not marriage? Well, given that there are 3 forms of kinyan, right? And bia is one of them. I don't know. Honestly, I mean, it depends if these are women that are proper women. Like, we don't know the nature of the relationship with the fathers of the babies. That's just, I looked through several sources, could not find anything coherent. Except the Yibum argument was as close as I came to even addressing the whole male factor in conception. Like, everybody just seems to treat this like immaculate conception and just like, I don't know. So yeah, it's a great question. But we do know that in ancient times, intercourse was enough to constitute legal marriage and therefore incur upon the man, financial legal responsibility. So yes, yibum would be a factor here since there was bia and since there's a child, etc. Okay, so I think the zona thing is also just to sort of clear out why the dads are not present, because is it they don't know who the dads are? No idea. How feasible is the scenario? As a mom, this drove me crazy. Like, I'm trying to imagine so many things being feasible in the story, and I'm just like, nope. Like, did anyone else notice that one of the mothers just gave birth 3 days ago and she's sleeping through the night and she doesn't hear anything? I'm sorry, I was not zochet to that kind of sleep with a newborn for, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. It was just, the sleep deprivation seemed endless. I'm just trying to remember. I think there was one time after like 6 months of sleep deprivation where I just blacked out. And I know this because, again, who hasn't had this happen? If anybody sleeps with their babies in their bed, for nursing comfort, of course, the baby will at some point roll off the bed. So you hear a thud and a when, it's just like, oh my God, I blacked out, right? Because normally you just have them tucked, between you and the wall and you're sleeping and everything's good. So yeah, that's how I knew I fell asleep. Because, yeah. Wow, can I get arrested for this? Okay, I don't know. But anyway, the point is that 3 days after giving birth and she's sleeping through to the point where she doesn't feel like a woman coming in and taking her child away from her and putting another child in there. And like, how's that even possible? Not only that, but the first woman who's, the nefarious schemer here, so she had just given birth the day earlier. And so I was just trying to imagine, like, she also like slept so soundly that she just like rolled over, didn't feel herself smothering the baby. Like she was jealous of the baby sleeping through. I don't know, Sarah. The whole thing just struck me as so, no, that's not even possible. The whole smothering a child, you know, that for a long time, that was an anti-sleeping with your baby argument. And then many times that argument has been, wow, again, I can't remember the word in English. Lehafrich. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like when you have a claim and you shoot like out the window, like you show that this claim is like not relevant. In Hebrew, you say lehafrich tana. Wow, I'm thoroughly alingual. This is great. I have no idea how to say this in English. But you get what I'm saying, right? That basically the claims have gone through changes where some say, yes, a woman can actually smother her child, so no, sleeping with your baby is not a good idea. And some say, no, what do you mean? The numbers of SIDS actually and crib death actually go up. And, you know, whereas if the baby sleeps with you, the numbers go down. I don't know. I don't know what the latest studies are. I did not have a chance to look it up. But either way, the whole feasibility of the story just struck me. I just sat there like just shaking my head like, just what? Is this actually possible that this happened? And by the way, I was in good company because it turns out two sages of the Talmud had a similar machlokas, and one is adamant that no, it's obviously not feasible. We'll get to that in a sec. Okay. Then also, all of you sent in, how does this prove anything? Like, okay, Shlomo's whole risk that he takes to prove who the mom is insane. Because, like, how does he know it's going to work? And again, the Hasidic masters and the various sages all pipe up with the same argument. How does he know that the true mother is going to speak up? How does he know that the fake mother isn't going to speak up because she's really savvy psychologically and she knows that she's going to look really, really shady if she doesn't speak up? Like, there are so many risks. Was he actually going to go through with it? Was he actually going to kill this child? And like, it's just, you know, just to prove a point. And the other question you guys all sent in is, how does this prove his wisdom? Like, how does it prove that this is a God-given wisdom? Leah says he has chokhmah. What? He has chokhmah. Thank you. He just received this amazing bracha from Hashem. Gemma, right? So that's great, but like, that's all 2020 hindsight. Like in real time, right? Like it's risky. How does he know this is going to work? And so basically, how does this prove the fulfillment of the prophecy? How does it prove the fulfillment of the dream? Why such a sketchy story? Like, couldn't they have proven that he got this chokhmah in a more dignified manner? Like, why is the vehicle for the ultimate proof that he's now receiving divine wisdom, two women and a baby and whatever, hold on, although even if, why would you want to? Right, Leah, exactly. I'm trying to remember which one of the Hasidic masters says, like, come on, that just doesn't even make sense. Like, what woman would even say that? Okay. Right, I think that those were the main questions. Esther Ita, okay. Esther Ita asked a question, is an actual story, a metaphor? Fantastic question. I think for all the stories, and that's the beauty of Pardes, right? Is that a lot of the stories actually happened, right? Look, how many people want to say that a lot of the stories with the Avos, right? It's like Yaakov, etc. They're metaphors, you know, Yetzias Mitzrayim never actually happened historically. It's just a great, like, simile or like just some kind of great story to convey a message. So as Jews, we believe that there's Pshat, Remez, Drash, Sod, and that everything can be interpreted in 4 levels. And so, yes, on the Pshat level, there is a historical, actual occurrence. Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Akedah. The only person from our own sages who throws a whole monkey wrench into this argument and actually questions whether the stories historically happened, but not all of them, right? Only some of them, is the Rambam himself. The Rambam thinks that many of the stories that happened in Tanakh happened through prophetic vision. He gives, his radical example is the Akedah. He doesn't think that Avram and Yitzchak actually walked 3 days to Hara Moriah. He thinks Avram experienced the whole thing through a prophetic vision. And he gives other examples that it wasn't just Jacob's ladder that Jacob experienced prophetically, so many other things he didn't actually go through, but that it was a vision that he experienced, and the whole thing is to teach a message. But Rambam is kind of unique there in that opinion. But our other sages say, no, what do you mean? Yetzias Mitzrayim happened, and all the miracles, the 10 plagues, everything happened historically, except the reason it was recorded was not for historical, factual purposes. That's not why we've been learning it for, so many thousands of years. Is that the Tanakh is not a history book. It's not its purpose. Its official academic, genre title is historiosophy, which is wisdom passed on through historical facts, right? Sophia in Latin, I believe, and in Greek is wisdom, right? That's why philosophy is a love of wisdom, philo, Sophia. And so historiosophy is just using historical facts to juxtapose them in a certain way in order to convey a deeper message about humanity and about the way we evolve, our flaws and our strengths and just everything, just to teach humanity. So that is the Tanakh's primary purpose and function. It's a book in Hebrew, Historia Sophia, in English, Historiosophy. So that's why there's plenty of room for the other levels of Pardes, for Drush, for Remes, for Sod, because yes, they're also vehicles, they're also garments, and there's a whole body of message underneath it all, that we are meant to extrapolate and learn. For the record, as an interesting aside, the Jews are not the only people who believe in a multidimensional interpretation of the Tanakh. One of the early church fathers, Origen, actually believed in a three-dimensional interpretation of the Tanakh. He said there's Pshat, Drush, and Sod. By the way, how consistent is that? Christians consistently with the Trinity, and the Jewish people, right, with the four of Yud, K, Vav, K, right? It's just so consistent. But either way, the Christians don't have the concept of Remez. They believe that there is the Pshat, the actual story, which again, they anyway believe is a whole allegory for Yoshkala. And then there is the allegorical level, and then there's the mystical level, which the early church fathers believed. And I don't know how much that carried over time in the development of Christianity. Okay, so I'm going to try to write on the board. Just give me feedback if everything's clear. So according to Pshat, what is this story coming to convey? What message? What are we supposed to walk away with from this story? According to Pshat, anyone? What is this trying to show us?
Maybe that Shlomo's wisdom was very great, and this is like kind of like exhibit A.
How does this show the greatness? How does resolving the judgment of two prostitutes, how does that show his greatness?
Maybe because he was using he was able to look into human nature and kind of read their speech patterns, as you said, and that kind of requires a very intellectual person, maybe.
Okay, so one of the sages, the Radbaz, who was the teacher of the Arizal in Mitzrayim, Dvorah, I saw your point and just bam, right on. So we'll just hold that thought. I just want to answer first. Rabbi David Ben Zimra says that Shlomo figured things out just from body language. He gives an example. He observed how quick and sprightly somebody was, how animated she was versus how sluggish. And he was like, this woman is so animated and vivacious. There's no way that she wouldn't have noticed her own child, dying and whatever. She's not the sluggish type. She would have picked up on things. And so he could just go through an analysis about how within the first 2 seconds, he already figured out what's what, but he went through a single process, a certain process, just to illustrate the process so that people should see clearly and not just take his word for granted. Dvorah had said, can you just make it pop up again? She basically said that to show that he judges everybody, no matter how great, no matter how small. I really wish I could read that quote because it was just fabulous, and please correct me if I messed it up. But basically that's it, because I think that the example of the Nashim Zonot is a fantastic example of lowest rung of society. I mean, let's please acknowledge that this is not a modern society, this is a patriarchal, yeah, I got it, Tora, awesome, thank you, that this is a patriarchal society. And that means that women are going to be an example of lowest rung. So these are not proper acceptable women that are part of society. These are as fringe of society as possible. Not only are they women, these are the ultimate outcasts. And to show Shlomo's magnanimity, his total generosity and objectivity, that he does not pay attention to class, status, case, doesn't interest him. He's like, anybody can come before me and I will give them fair judgment, even women, and even women from this socioeconomic, level. I think that's just on the basic level of pshat. The other pshat connection, which might be a remez, I'm not exactly sure because I didn't find anything too concretely remez here in this analysis, was in Shlomo's dream where he's requesting wisdom. One of the things that he says to Hashem, he says, I feel like a tiny child who doesn't know anything and is so helpless. And so I think that he's being sent something that is a representation of himself, that he feels pulled in different directions and he feels like this helpless little baby that's being fought over. Now, who could be fighting over him, people? Why is this metaphor the perfect metaphor for his own process and how he is going to choose how to become? So again, anyone who watched the K-drama, if you've ever seen historical K-dramas, saguks, this is going to help you because this just brings to life so tremendously what life was like in the palace. Esther Itas from different tribes? Not exactly. So, wow, do I have to send you guys more homework and send you another chapter? Woo, it's so exciting. Okay, basically, the K-dramas help us understand virtually most of Melachim and Yeshayahu and Yirmiyahu. Those things are indispensable for understanding many of the chapters, like 36, etc., in Yirmiyahu and in Yeshayahu, actually, illustrate the tensions in the palace. That basically everything was split up into teams. There was no absolute loyalty. And so with Shlomo, and we know this from the previous chapters, this is why the prostitute story, if we read it in context, right, we understand it's not chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll see in a second. There's such a flawless flow thematically, right? And they cap off the unit beautifully. That basically, what is Shlomo doing? He is literally weaving his way through the different factions. There's his own brother, flesh and blood Adoniyahu, who is against him, tearing him apart, but then he's not really against him because as soon as Shlomo asserts the throne, Adoniyahu's like, hail, master, I your majesty. So it's not clear, is he for me, is he against me? And then there's all of, there's Yoav, and there's Ebiatar, and there's Tzadok. There's all these advisors that we don't know where they stand, or we do know where they stand, and these are people of power. And so within the king's own cabinet, he's always being pulled by the different factions, because within a kingdom, there's always cabinets. It's not just, monopolization of information. And within the cabinets, you have parties, you have factions, each one vying for their policy. And so basically, Shlomo feels this, and when we get to chapter 4, you will see how clearly he feels this. He feels like this baby that's ripped into two factions where he has two tzaddik factions. It's not like, oh, this guy is obviously a rogue villain. Like, no, he literally has two Kohen Gadol that are vying for dominance. I mean, both Kohen Gadol are like good guys. And it's like, who do I go with? And it's not only them, Benayahu, and right, so he's always going, and any king is going to be stuck in these, wars. They're going to be caught in the crossfire. So on the one, Shlomo saying, Hashem, I'm stuck in the crossfire. What do I do? How do I know what to do? So I think on another level, I think that Shlomo is very much identifying with the baby. So, but that's just my own little thing. Actually, no, wait. I read that also in the Red Buzz. Sorry, that wasn't mine. So then Rabbi David ben Zimra, that he ends off his parish with that, saying that he feels like the na'ar that's being ripped into pieces. And so the verdict he comes to is actually in line with what we're going to do when we get to the Hasidus in a sec. We'll see that that's going to help he's going to know what his guiding light is to know who to go with. Okay, on the level of Drash. So the sages go in a very interesting direction. There's a machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel, very, very famous bar pluktas, right? They're chavrusas and machlokes buddies. Where do we most see them? In Masechet Megillah. On Megillat Esther, like a scarlet web weaving its way through the entire Masechet Megillah, they have an ongoing machlokes about how to understand, right? Rav understands it one way, Shmuel understands it a different way. Specifically on the topic of Achashverosh, was he evil or was he stupid? But on every other topic too. And they are early generation Talmudic sages, Amoraim, right? So they're after the seal of the Mishnah, but they're at the very dawn of the Gemara. So they have a machlokes on the word Nashim Zonot. So Rav says, they're not actual prostitutes. In fact, they're not even actual women. They're ghosts. No more, no less. Rav says, 2 ghosts came before him, and Shmuel's like, no, Zonot Mamash. Please give me a break. Women of flesh and blood. The story's actually pshat. No. So why do you think Rav is suggesting that they're ghosts? What does it solve if the story is about 2 ghosts? Ghosts of specific people? I don't know, it doesn't have to be, because bear in mind, yes, Leah, very strange. Bear in mind that Shlomo is a character that is no, not goats. No, not no, ghosts, as in supernatural entities. Yes, Shlomo is constantly fraught with supernatural entities being associated with him. Throughout the Midrashim, throughout Pshat, we shall see, right? There's a supernatural element to him. That not only does he control the physical world, he controls just as equally the supernatural world. And so there are plenty of Midrashim talking about how he literally has demons of every type imaginable at his beck and call because he is that powerful. And there is a hint of that in the Pshat that the Midrash in Gittin, I believe, is based on. So basically that's a theme with Shlomo. So Rav is pretty consistent with Shlomo's character of being someone that controls supernatural entities. So it makes perfect sense that 2 ghosts would come before him. Did he control these ghost women? Well, what do you think, Sapir? Did they listen to him? No, he didn't summon them. But what is the problem that Rav is seeking to wiggle out of? That this just solves all the Pshat problems if they're ghosts.
Is it the issue that you mentioned before of how likely is it that 2 women who just gave birth are having these very unlikely issues?
Right. I think that's exactly it, that he's saying, you know what, the whole thing is so unfeasible is because it is not feasible. It's 2 ghosts. Now there's one other thing that Rav solves if it's 2 ghosts. What is the story immediately preceding this story? The beginning of chapter 3, right? The first half of chapter 3, what is the story that precedes the story with these 2 women? Oh my goodness, no, but Sheva, that's Perik Bet. I'm talking about Perik Gimel. Oh, Sarah Plotkin, a dream, exactly. And so what? So what that it's a dream? How does this help us? Yeah, that's my question, is what's the connection? Okay, so Gemma was like a subconscious representation of being pulled, like you mentioned. So more than that, there's a very, very interesting pasuk that appears in the story, right? He goes through the whole process that he has this very, very vivid dream that seems to be a prophetic dream, though there is a machloket among the sages whether Shlomo was a prophet or not, right? I'm trying to remember. I think it's Rambam. I'm blanking. I don't want to mess you guys up and confuse you. One sage says, no, he absolutely was not a prophet. This was a mystical experience, but this doesn't elevate him to the level of prophecy, whereas another sage says, no, he absolutely was a prophet. This was a prophetic dream. And yeah, he's a Navi. But basically, the pasuk that was perplexing is a pasuk tetvav, verse 15 in chapter 3. Vaikat Shlomo v'hinei chalom. meaning that he's completely shocked that the whole thing was a dream because the whole thing felt very real. So he throws a massive party because he's like, wow, that felt so real. And our sages say from this we learn that when you learn Torah, when you have a siyum, you have to throw a sudas mitzvah. Sarah, but it said in the beginning Hashem came to him in a dream. Right, but the story, the narrator's telling us how he felt. At first he didn't know. He's going through this experience, he thinks he's seeing real things, he's like going through a real experience, and then by Katz, he wakes up. Behine always tells us that the character is shocked. It's not, and here is a dream, it's that, whoa. And he's shocked to discover that whole thing never happened. It was just a dream. So he throws a big party to celebrate like his gratitude that he was deserved a certain type of revelation from Hashem. And then as tavona shtaim nashim. So the question is that, is this another dream or some kind of altered state of conscious experience that he's going through in order to really see, have I attained this level of wisdom? Have I merited to see a manifestation of that godly promise? So if it's two ghosts, if, then it could just be a vision. It could just be some kind of experience that's all in his head. It doesn't have to be like an actual him sitting in court with the two women coming with the baby. It could just be a whole conscious experience. I did not have a chance, honestly, it didn't even occur to me to look up in the Moreh Nevuchim, in Rambam's Guide to the Perplexed, which is the book where he writes his opinion, each of the biblical stories that appear to us to be historical events. And he says, no, it was just a prophetic vision. It all happened in their minds. So, bli neder, I will look up to see if Rambam gives this as an example of something that only happened in Shlomo's mind and not actually Sapir. But it says all of Israel heard about the judgment. So the way the Gemara deals with that, the Gemara in Masechet Makot, it's I think the second last page of the tractate Makot. The Gemara says, how do we explain this pasuk? A bat kol came out and pronounced the words Ki imo. Shlomo himself does not say, she is the mother. I'm talking about verse 27, pasuk Chav Zayin. Vayan HaMelech vayomer tnu la et hayalud hachai v'amet lot mitu ki imo. So Shlomo only says, according to the Gemara in Makos, tnu la et hayalud hachai v'amet lot mituhu, and the Bible says ki imo. So how did everybody find out? God let all the prophets hear. He himself sent out his own voice to say, ta-da. So that's how we deal with that. So basically, I personally like Rob's opinion of it being ghost, because it could just be some kind of, thing that he's going through. But Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chaim, Shmuel's opinion that no, these were two women who worked as prostitutes / innkeepers. Yes, they brought a real baby before him. Yes, he called one of his, executioners to come and with the sword. Sarah Plotkin in Pasuk 21 says she got up in the morning to nurse, and then it says, morning she what? That it says superfluously morning twice? Right, I noticed that also. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, okay. So, right, I was trying to understand that also. I did not find anything substantial on it or like satisfying. The most annoying thing about this story, anyone know what it is? I'll tell you. Rashi doesn't say a blessed thing. Oh my gosh, really? Now you're going to give us a silent treatment? You don't have anything to share with us on this? He has like, 3 tiny Dibur Amatchils on this, and they're like kind of dumb moments. So frustrating. Oh my goodness. All right. But aside from that, okay. So on the level of Drush, that is where the sages go with that. So I'm just going to write these 2 things down. Okay. Shot. No. Hold on. Like it's crazy, but I get it. Okay. And then according to Sod. Okay. So now, you guys sent in, but what does this really mean? What is this story really meant to teach us? So that's where Sod comes in. And basically, the Hasidic masters explain that this whole story is a metaphor, specifically like for Shlomo to teach him something very, very profound about, existence and life as a Jew, and specifically his existence. All the Hasidic masters talk about how because in Shlomo's time, basically everything had been rectified, right? I'm beating this dead horse already for several weeks about how, wait, hold on, Esther Ita, I don't think any mother who lost her baby lonely wouldn't want anyone else to experience. Esther Ita, I wish that were true. And honestly, thank God for my experience. I can say that most women have that sympathy, but as someone who's been alive a long time, there are some pretty nasty people in the world, and I've met them. And let me tell you, there are people that misery loves company, and they enjoy another person not being better off than them than they do entertain any feelings of sympathy. So I wish you were right, but life experience has taught me that there are some beep people in the world, like severely messed up. And no judgment. My rule in life is hurt people hurt people. A person must have been so profoundly abused, and I don't mean physically like by parents or whatever. I just mean so hurt profoundly that it beat them into this nastiness. Because people, I believe as a Jew, people are born good, right? And so if we become awful, then there's all this nurture stuff that turned us into that. But I think for the most part, you're right. Okay, so with Sod, right, since the moon was full in Shlomo's time, right, David Melech completed Tikkun Adam Rishon, right? Shlomo is having this amazing life. So then the Hasidic masters ask, so wait a second, so what was there left to rectify in his time? And they interpret this story as literally being Shlomo navigating this new level of tikkun. Anyone know what is there left to rectify after we've rectified good and evil and the klippas are all like either destroyed because they're not elevatable or they've been elevated? So what's left? According to Hasidus, what's left to rectify or elevate after there is no longer good and evil? Anyone? Oh, Vora, beautiful. Good and better, meaning, what do you mean base shimmy thing, Adina? Oh, base Shammai? Yeah, I guess. I didn't think of it that way, but that could be. But basically, we know that there's the three klipas and there's klipas noga. So what about within the good, there is good and evil on a very sophisticated level. If I could bring it down to Avodas Hashem, let's say a person has worked on themselves and that's it. I no longer even struggle about keeping Shabbos. No, because complacency is evil. I'm not even talking about that. That let's say I no longer have to struggle with Bittul Torah. Let's say everything's rectified. So then I have to choose knowing what is my Avodas Hashem at this moment. Should I be going and working at the soup kitchen and doing Gemilas Chasadim? Or should I be going and studying more Torah? Or like, what mitzvah should I be doing right now? So that's literally about between good and good. So that's why the Hasidic masters interestingly see this story as the two women being virtually identical, right? Virtually identical situation. And they're coming before Shlomo asking for rectification. So, and our sages interpret the verse that Shlomo asks Hashem saying, please, I'm just a small child and I want to know the difference between good and evil. So they interpret this as the good and evil within good. Because they said, they quote the Zohar, there is no longer anything left to rectify. And they quote the Zohar, the moon is full, right? The Sahara Bishlemuta. And so they say, no, now he's rectifying within the good, down to what's called dakus, right? To the most refined, nuanced levels. Do you mean knowing our individual purpose? No, because sometimes a person's individual purpose is fighting evil. Like, I know for myself, right? like I'm a very angry person. I've got, like losing my temper issues. So I cannot possibly put a halo on my anger. That's just being a Russia. Like that's just being, giving into the Yetzer Hara to lose my temper. I can't say that that's a good thing. That's a bad thing. But that's my work in this world for whatever reason. But in Mashiach times, good and better is individual. Even now it's individual. What do you mean? Even now it's individual. It's never not individual. So basically, but I'm talking about, were I to somehow attain a total tikkun for my temper and for all my other issues, my laziness and all the other wonderful things I'm blessed with, and to get to the place where, okay, so what does Hashem want me to do now? Does he want me to, run to that Yoledet and like to spend the time now to make her like an amazing meal for the Shifra and Pua? Or does he want me to do something else? Or what does he want me to do? Between good and good, not between good and evil. So that's what the Hasidic masters are hearing in this story. And the Toldos Yaakov Yosef says it the most beautifully. Guys, anyone know who the Toldos Yaakov Yosef is? Rav Yaakov Yosef of Polonia. So his claim to fame is that he was the Baal Shem Tov scribe. None of the Baal Shem Tov's Torahs would have survived if it weren't that Toldos Yaakov Yosef recording everything down in writing. So, but other than the fact that he also was a tremendous sage and scholar, and so he breaks it down like this. He says the two women are the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov. Now, this is kind of crazy because, what do you mean? Like, wait, you said they're both good. Like, what? So hold on. So he says that ultimately we know from the Gemara and Baba Basra and from lots of places, the Yetzer Hara, in the time of Mashiach, we'll see that it's also good, right? That his whole purpose, he doesn't actually like want to do bad. The only reason he does bad and is an obstacle is because why? Why is the only reason that he exists and he's able to do bad? Anyone?
So that we can choose?
Yes. So where does he get his power from? And Gemma said, help us refine ourselves. True, but like, where does he get his power from to exist? Power comes from us? Nope. We never would have created him, ever. If we were creating the world, we never would have created him. No way.
From Hashem?
Exactly right. That's exactly right, which is why all the religions in the world are so confused about the concept of evil. And again, I'm not going to choose this tangent, but I'm just throwing this out there on your radar, that if you were to look at every religion in the world and just sort of break them up into two categories, what they all basically come down to, when you strip away all the details, is the understanding of where does evil fall within the world. The monotheistic religions believe that evil is a servant of Hashem, the creator, and he's subservient to God, and that's why they can be monotheistic, because they don't believe that there's an alternative power to Hashem. Whereas all the pagan religions, and I count Catholicism in this, is that they basically say, no, there is another power, or more than one power, but there's at least two, that exist and run the world, and that the God of good is as powerful or less powerful than the God of evil. Because again, how else do you explain why bad things happen to good people and vice versa? Like, how could a good God let bad things happen, right? So basically, the answer that the pagan religions come up with, well, it must be that evil is so powerful that the God of good doesn't have power over it. And once you've broken up into two gods, well, hey, maybe there's a bunch of others. So if you think about one of the earliest religions that existed is Zoroastrianism, which is a dualistic religion. There's the God of good and the God of evil, and the whole world is, caught in the crossfire. They're clashing, and everything happens because these two titans are clashing. But basically, that's what it all comes down to. Whereas monotheistic religions say life is paradoxical, and a good God can create an angel, right? It's not a God. It's a spiritual deity, an entity that, God grants it power. And yes, we don't understand why Hashem would do that, but because he needs free will to exist in the world, he allows this evil to exist. He gives it power so that he can create the possibilities for us to shine. So that when he tempts us, so that when he tries to trip us, we rise and we fulfill our potential so that God can have nachas, because without the contrast, there can be no like light. Without the darkness, there can be no appreciation of light. So basically, evil is a servant of God, which is a very scary idea. It's an absolutely terrifying idea, because it's saying all the bad that happens to me in my life comes from God. If that isn't a slap across the face, I don't know what is. Like, that's a dangerous statement, but it doesn't stop it from being true. So a person can go into the place of despair and say, wow, well, who needs a God that, makes holocausts and does all these things, right? I get that perspective. It doesn't mean I have to buy into it, but I can fully understand it. But then there's a loftier perspective of nothing happens without a reason. If God has sent this to me into my life, it's there to teach me something, to help me grow. So that's why the word Satan, right? All it means is an obstacle, is a stumbling block, which is, by the way, a key word in the Solomon stories. We're going to get to it at the very end of his life. It says, and God sent 3 satans to Shlomo, shlosha stanim. Now, he doesn't mean he sent 3, winged evil creatures with like tails, but he sent 3 obstacles, 3 stumbling blocks before him. So all the Satan is an angel whose job is to get in the way so that we can jump over him. Does that make sense? So basically, there really is no evil in the world, because everything is a servant of God to bring good out of the potential and into actuality. That's the whole role of the Yetzer Hara, is to reveal the latent good within us, to create counterforce so that the good can be revealed. So basically, just to finish the Toldos Yaakov Yosef, so he says 2 women come, and each are claiming to have the child's best interest, like, I'm the real mother. And he says, what does that mean? Both claim to be in the best interest of the Jew. The Yetzer Tov says, I know what's best for you, listen to me. But the Yetzer Hara also says, I know what's best for you, listen to me. I want you to enjoy life. And you know what he really does? He really wants us to have the best seafood and the best cheeseburgers and mamish, all the gewaltige Sachen, all the best things. But, so on a very superficial level, he claims to have our best interest, except that in the grand scheme of things, it is not in our best interest. So where does the Toldos Yaakov Yosef go with this? He says, each claims to be the mother. So then the king says, my dear Jew, you want to know who the real mother is? See who is walking in the path of unity and who is walking in the path of separation. Whoever is demanding separation, that is not in your best interest. And whoever wants unity, that is in your best interest. And that's really a bulletproof rule with the Yetzer Hara. He's always there to be a divisive factor. In fact, even the Hasidic Yetzer Hara, the one with the Borsalino and with the Sirtuk and everything, who says, what a chutzpah. How could you daven with such a lack of kavanah? You just spit in God's face. Okay, Dvorah, so you can see the end of it on the YouTube channel. Yeah? See you next week. Basically, he's always going to try to disconnect you from Hashem, disconnect you from yourself, make you feel bad about yourself. Whereas the Yetzer Tov, when she speaks, it's always a unifying factor, connecting you to yourself, connecting you to Hashem. Hashem loves you so much. Really, it would be so good if you would do this mitzvah. It would be so good for you. You would benefit from it, right? Speaks positively. And so he says, that's why the king says, chop the child in half. And the mother, who's not the real mother, says, yes, cut the baby. Whereas the real mother, who really wants what's best for the child, says, no, let him live. Let him be unified. Let him stay whole. I just want him to live. That he says the real source of life is unity, and division is something that smacks of evil, right? The breaking of the vessels in between the shards is where evil was created. So basically, the Toldos Yaakov Yosef extrapolates this whole story onto the avodas Hashem of every single person. So that's it in a nutshell. In terms of Sod, they say the whole thing is a metaphor about individual avodas Hashem. So I'm just thinking, since the time is up, in a super duper nutshell, Shlomo, what he asks God for in the dream is saying, I already have chokhmah. Now can you help me obtain bina? Because that's one of the Hasidic masters says, he asks for chokhmat lev. The Hasidic master says that Chokhmah is in the mind, and he asks for it to trickle down into the heart. For the Chassidus Master says, what does, if we're going to ask the broken Kalim, okay, Esther, I'm going to have to reread that because I want to wrap up this one point, so hold that thought. Basically, he says, what good is Chokhmah if it stays in the world of thought? It needs to come all the way down into Yetzirah and Asiyah. And so basically, what Shlomo is asking for, saying, teach me how to bring it down into the physical world, which we spoke about 2 weeks ago, right? So if you guys don't remember, you can quickly just scan through the YouTube share where about what is going on with the dream. He's saying, please help me do the ishtalshalos and actualize bringing godliness down into the physical world. And so basically, it's obvious that women have to come before him because women are bina. And so not only women, but women that symbolize, right, the lowest of the low. And so he has to basically tap into all of his bina in order to solve this mystery about who done it and who's the real mom. And so, and that's an interesting thing we'll see when we do. Anyone who's learned Kohelet with me knows that every time Shlomo wants to tap into bina, female characters appear. Like in Kohelet, he uses a female pseudonym. That's deliberate to show that he's writing the whole thing through bina. So basically, part of how this story specifically shows the actualization of everything that's promised in the first half, in the dream story, it's dafka through these two women that are, again, whether they're real or not, it doesn't matter, that are challenging him, to channel the chokhmah down and to actualize it in the most basic manner. I will try to type it up and post it on Facebook just a little bit more coherently about the connections between the dream and the story, just to show the visual verbal cues from the dream that inform the story of the prostitutes. Okay, whatever is not clear, you know where to find me. Send me your questions. Esther, Ita, please either post your question on the Facebook page or wherever. Please send it to me because I want to understand what you asked there. All right, hope everyone has a great week and take care.
Thank you.